I opened my laptop and saw Blippi on YouTube sitting there staring at me. And it got me thinking about this whole idea of repetition in learning. And one of the things that we see when we look at children's things as well as with school is that we tend to have multiple avenues for people to practice things. They say it over and over again. You may have a kid who comes home and sings the same song, or you may just be one of those people who has heard some of the popular songs that are around that play on the radio everywhere you go, like Pink Pony Club, because it seems to just be everywhere. But the repetition makes it to where it sticks because there's actually something that is causing the training that you're doing with your team and even with yourself when you're trying to better yourself that is causing you to forget it. And this little thing is called the forgetting curve. And it's actually really interesting because 90% of training content is forgotten within a week. And that's crazy. That's from the National Training Laboratories. But what is the forgetting curve? The forgetting curve is the natural decline in memory retention over time if information is not actively recalled or reviewed. So let's say that you train somebody how to do a process. If it's not something that they're doing all of the time or something that's being pulled of like, hey, we just need to do a redo on this so that we make sure that we're staying up with the times, making sure that people can still do it. This is why SOPs and then updating those SOPs are so vital for a business. It actually will be completely forgotten because think about it as if you're putting things in your pantry. You want to have that FIFO kind of feeling of first in, first out. Your brain's doing the same thing. If you've seen Inside Out, how they have the little people cleaning up everything and they just suck it up and it goes into it disappears. It goes somewhere else. This is what's happening in your brain. That's why those little things like those commercials that you'll never forget are stuck in your head. But then that thing that you really actually need to remember is something that is a little bit harder for you to recall. So, how do we solve for this when we're thinking about training? The brain actually needs something called spaced retention for emotional relevance and application to move info from short term to long term memory. So I need to know how many times am I going to do this? So I have to have that extra repetition. But then I also need to know, why is this emotionally relevant to me? Why is it important for me to know this? And what's the application so that I can move forward? And do I really need to know this? Is this something that's really important to me? In a lot of my trainings, I'll talk about this idea of when somebody's not supposed to be on something. Like you have a team. I was just saying this at a conference yesterday. If you have a team of marketers and Sally, Bob, and Joe are on the team, but Sally doesn't need to know what this client is doing, take her off the email thread, take her off the Slack channel, and just be like, hey, we're not going to add extra things to your plate because one, you're not going to retain them anyways. And two, it's just making more work for somebody. So these are things that you need to consider when you're working with your team, but also training your team for new hires or for promotions. And so if your training feels like a fire hose on Monday and ghost town on Thursday, your brain isn't broken. You're not just forgetting, it's the method that is. So when we create those methods that actually work over time, it makes it easier for people to retain the information. So if that's something that you're looking for and you're wanting to learn more about spaced retention, how we can get rid of the forgetting curve in your training and actually do stuff that works instead of just paying for something to check off a box when we think about corporate training or pouring into our team, I'd love to have a conversation with you. You can get on my calendar by going to kabrinaashley.com/strategy-call. And I would love to talk with you. I'll see you tomorrow.